Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Buzmen videos. Buzmen is a great podcast initiative which brings together leading and budding entrepreneurs to share their stories of success and growth across one platform. My name is Roya and we have with us today Mr. Rohit Sharma. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Roya. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself, sir, and your background.
Sure. So I work for a company called Abhibus. We are a leading online bus e-ticketing platform. We've been into the business for about 13 years now, and it's really exciting here.
So how would you say, COVID-19 has affected your business and your company's prospects?
So generally, COVID-19 has impacted almost every industry, but travel, it goes without saying, is one of the most affected, and it is obviously advised for people to stay indoors as much as possible and to avoid travels and all. So yes, it has impacted our industry. It has impacted our the way we approach the business, our growth trajectory, the way we manage our P&L, the cost. It has, but yeah, I think we have dealt with it so far so good.
Right, now we are still under, a government travel ban with a relaxed restriction. So how would you say, once the ban has completely been lifted, how would it be? Do you say the estimated time of recovery would be the same, or is it going to take you a longer time to recover and reach the same estimate you were before COVID-19?
So travel industry is very interesting, right? The more people confined to their homes, the desire and the need to go out only multiplies. So I represent the bus industry, and there have been severe restrictions on this industry, especially because two states don't want the interchange of mass population traveling from one state to the other, and especially bus, which is a little unorganized. The pickup points are not very regularized, unlike aviation. So when unlock one happened, as you might know, in the first week of June, airlines were the first one to start, and from a availability standpoint, as you know, there is a flight available pretty much to every state from every state. And what we have seen in that particular industry, which is almost similar in terms of the behavior, we have seen, while the domestic data shows about 1.1 crore travelers traveled within India in January, we are kind of coming back now to almost 90,000, 100,000 per day, which is just about, let's say, 30 lakh. So when aviation can get back to 30-35% with lesser restrictions, obviously the scrutiny is very tight, the testing and the social distancing is very tight. But with the safety measures, when the travel relaxations are there, when more and more state governments allow passengers to go between two states and cross borders freely on the road, through the road, with the public transport, we strongly believe the recovery for bus industry is going to be even faster than the aviation industry had, because as I just said, 1 crore people is just a fraction of the country's population, and not everybody travels by the flights, but almost everybody travels by buses in India. So when travel restrictions are lifted, and those are getting lifted gradually every day, you might be reading the news that this and this state has allowed interstate travel. So with that, it's kind of getting back. We are getting back on track. We have started getting the green shoots, and that is only the positivity that we see right now.
And so what would you say are some of the safety measures, that bus companies would be implicating, especially to tackle social distancing?
I feel it's going to be easier for the bus operators and this industry to confine the social distancing norms, because there are 40 or 50 people that sit in a bus maximum, right? So you can always control those many people better than having thousands of people in an airport, boarding multiple airlines. So we work with close to 3,000 bus operators today, and we have practically spoken to each one of them. We have taken pictures and videos, and we just wanted to make sure that we know how they are confining to the safety norms that we have given. We have given a checklist and an SOP by ourselves. Uh, at the same time, we have given multiple recommendations to the state governments about what safety norms they should, follow for the state roadways that are owned by state governments. So we are very confident that the amount of spend that each bus operator, bus owner has spent sitting at home and doing nothing, these 5 months have given them enough motivation to make sure that they are really equipping themselves, and they're really eager to hit the road.
Right. So now it would be fair to say that COVID-19 has caught a widespread of businesses, unaware. So, what would you say? How do you think the transition has been, between working from home and being able to adjust to that essentially?
So working from home is not that difficult. Many people have spoken about that. I'm sure you have heard many people saying that it's kind of a blessing because you get to spend more time with the family, and it's about setting your priorities right. And we are not a massive company. We don't manage 10,000 people, so it's relatively easier for us to kind of get our people up to the task. The average tenure of people who are with us is more than 6 years. So when you have people who have been with the company for many years, they feel like the company is there. So you don't really need to kind of start plans and various incentives and schemes to keep them motivated. We had a very strong product roadmap, and each and every team members have lived up to that, and that's why we are really excited and glad that today, when things are getting better, we have multiple products that we are going to launch, which are only going to do better for the company.
Right. So would you say that in the aftermath of all of this, a disaster recovery plan would be implemented for the future amongst a lot of companies? Or would you think we would just regulate to going back to how things were in the beginning?
No, so to that, I would say, in March, a lot of people were talking about the COVID plan or the disaster plan, and now we're talking about disaster recovery plan. I strongly feel that the disaster management and the disaster recovery plan is not made when the disaster actually happened. The planning, should start many months before that, and that's where I think we are very strongly positioned. Typically, if you look at the modern day startup ecosystem, we talk about growth, and then we talk about survival, and then we talk about profitability. Every startup, every e-commerce company runs after the massive growth, the hockey stick growth, and then when you lose money, it is the question of survival. Whereas if rewind a few years back, the normal business aesthetics were that you think about a normal shopkeeper. You think about profitability first, right? You have to kind of get the money back, and you have to get profits on that for your growth. And then when you get profits as a shopkeeper, as a small business owner, you refuel that and you refund that money for growth, and survival typically happens. So those companies who have not thought about the survival from the beginning, those are the ones that are struggling. Abhibus, as a company, generally, we have been very strong fundamentally. We have been EBITDA positive before COVID. So we never had that legacy of losses that we had written off in the past. And those companies who have written off losses in the past, those are the ones that has bigger struggle today, and they have to worry about the future. And having said that, I also mentioned about various other product lines that we were planning to launch before COVID, and since we were already working on them, for as long as since demonetization. So those past 3-4 years of preparation has given us a good a road to launch these products today, to pitch for those products today, and we are getting the fruit for those products, and that is only adding to the revenue line. So net, if you look at the bus e-ticketing, although but the revenues of travel and the bus e-ticketing companies have taken a nosedive by 90-95%. Same is the case for us. But overall, we've been able to kind of increase our revenue from other channels, and therefore been able to kind of have comfortable in terms of managing our cost, managing our salaries, and being very bullish about the future.
So now, since you do have an excellent track record of turning around companies from loss to profit, do you believe a gap for promoters, needs, and greed is the key for success for startups?
Yeah, so I was just mentioning about that greed only. The startups in today's time, in 2020, or rather 2020, spoiled. So in 2019, every startup, they dreamt of having a hockey stick growth, acquire more and more customer, even if that means loss at the unit level. It's fine, you acquire the customers, and then we can think about profitability. So it's not an advice, rather it's kind of a common business sense that the unit economics are very, very important. Whether your startup is a year old or 10 years old, whether it's a unicorn or otherwise, whether it's a large startup or a small startup, the basic fundamental is that if your average customer is not giving you a profit, whether it is a 1 rupee profit or a 10,000 rupee profit, that startup will kind of find itself in jeopardy, whether a COVID-like situation happens or even the regular scenario. And the newspapers and the news have been full of those articles which talk about startups that have struggled even before COVID because they never focused on profitability at every customer level.
Mm. So, what would you say now, especially not knowing how the market is going to be after COVID-19? What would be your word of advice, like one essential word of advice you would give to entrepreneurs who are planning on starting up businesses after COVID-19?
So see, I'm not looking at COVID-19 as um, any scenario or any kind of a event which has really changed the way business is done, right? So if you're an entrepreneur and you're planning to start your business after COVID, or you already started your business, back in the day, and I know even a few people who have started their business during COVID, and they have survived, right? And they have done well. So maybe only thing that the COVID has changed in the short term is what industry you might want to focus on. It's not that every industry is attractive. Some industries like real estate, commercial real estate, residential real estate, housing, those are the things that are going to have a little long lasting impact. You curb the restrictions and people start traveling, but that doesn't mean that you curb the restrictions and people start buying houses. So there are industries which might not do great in next maybe 4 to 8 quarters, but eventually everything is going to come back to normal, and every business is going to be as usual as it has always been. So I don't think COVID really changes any kind of a business and fundamentals.
All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us a little bit of insight into your business and your life. And thank you once again to all our viewers for joining us here on Buzmen Videos. Final words of advice you have for all our viewers, sir?
No, I think this was a tough 150 days. I think we just completed 150 days of lockdown a couple of days back. So this was definitely a tough 5 months period for everyone, whether you own a business or whether you're into a job, or even if you manage your house. It's pretty. These have been challenging times, perhaps for our lifetimes, the most challenging times for most of us. But I think it's over, and all of us who have survived this and still managed to stay happy, managed to focus on our work and focus on our families, are the ones which are victorious, and we should all be proud of that. And I think very soon we'll all be having the normal life, going back to office and going back to gym and going back to the normal work that we used to do every day.
Well, thank you once again for joining us, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Thank you to all our viewers for joining us once again on Buzmen Videos. Stay tuned for more inspirational stories from leading entrepreneurs from across the country. Once again, my name is Roya, signing off from Buzmen Videos. Stay safe.